Thomas Rivera didn't just doubt hell, he openly mocked it. To him, hell was nothing more than a scary bedtime story used to control people. But what happened next would shatter everything he believed and change his life forever. Raised in a small Catholic town, he had sat through countless masses, watched the statues of the Virgin Mary silently watching over his grandmother's mantelpiece, and listened to priests preach about sin and salvation. But none of it ever felt real. When his father died of cancer despite every prayer, every plea whispered in the dark, Thomas's faith shattered completely. If God is real, he told his mother bitterly, then he's either deaf or cruel. And with those words, he turned away from the church and from God. In college, Thomas became known as the outspoken skeptic. His podcast, Reason Over Ritual, was a battlefield where theology met cold logic, and logic always won. He mocked the Bible, ridiculed prayer, and famously quipped that if hell existed, he'd save everyone a seat and they could roast marshmallows together. His words went viral, making him a darling of the atheist and agnostic communities. The image of Thomas, sharp, witty, fearless, grew. But beneath the bravado, a gnawing emptiness began to take root. The laughter was loud, but the silence of his soul was deafening. Then the migraines started. At first, just tiny flashes, little pinpricks behind his eyes, but they quickly escalated. Blinding vertigo, waves of nausea, moments when the world spun out of control. One afternoon, as he spoke to a friend in a busy cafe, Thomas collapsed. He awoke in a hospital room to the cold eyes of doctors who told him he had a vascular malformation in his brain, dangerous, rare, and life-threatening. Surgery was his only option. The operation was supposed to last 4 hours, but it took 6. Midway through, something terrifying happened. Thomas's heart stopped. No pulse, no breath, just silence. For 3 minutes, he flatlined. In the emergency room, doctors fought desperately to bring him back, slapping paddles to his chest, shouting orders over the beeping machines. But for Thomas, those 3 minutes were something else entirely. Time seemed to stretch until it disappeared. He wasn't in a hospital bed. He was somewhere else. An endless void, a black silence so complete it was suffocating. Then in that crushing darkness, he felt a presence. Not cold, not cruel, but watching, waiting, something ancient and patient, a hunger that wasn't for his body but for his soul. Thomas felt paralyzed, trapped in a moment where every breath, every heartbeat was a distant memory. The void whispered lies, the same lies he had told himself all his life, that there was no God, no mercy, no hope. But then a light appeared. At first just a flicker, a pinprick against the black. Then it grew, spreading gently like dawn, breaking over a silent world. From that light emerged a figure draped in deep blue, her eyes filled with sorrow and compassion. She did not speak. She did not move. But Thomas felt her call, a silent invitation. Come with me. The darkness hissed, tried to pull him back, but her presence pushed it away like a shield of warmth in a frozen wasteland. Thomas reached out, desperate, trembling, and the moment his fingers brushed her hand, he was pulled back. He woke gasping, the sterile hospital room flooding his senses once more. Nurses rushed to his side, tears streaming, amazed that he had returned. He tried to speak, but no words came. Instead, he wept, tears not of pain, but of awe and gratitude. The first phrase he finally uttered was, "She saved me." Doctors assumed he meant a nurse, but Thomas knew better. The woman in blue was real. She had held his hand in the abyss. His mother flew in from Texas, holding a small laminated prayer card depicting Our Lady of Sorrows, the very image Thomas had seen in the darkness. "She's always been with you," his mother whispered through tears. That night, Thomas stared at the card for hours, the familiar figure suddenly full of meaning. The next morning, something he thought impossible happened. He asked for a rosary. Thomas never returned to the life he once led. The podcast disappeared, his books pulled from shelves, his voice silenced online. Instead, he found refuge in the quiet pews of his hometown church, lighting candles beneath the statue of Mary, offering prayers not for himself but for those who still laughed at what they could not see. Some days he wept for his lost years. Other days he smiled through tears of newfound peace. 1 year later, Thomas published a letter. Not a book, not a sermon, but a raw, honest confession aimed at those like him who mocked faith and scoffed at hell. I laughed at what I didn't understand, he wrote. I confused the flaws of men for the silence of God. I thought hell was a joke until I felt what it truly is. The place where God is not. But mercy waits for no one. It comes in silence, in surrender, in a hand stretched out from the dark. Her name is Mary. She didn't scold me or explain. She simply loved me when I could not love myself. That is grace. Thomas Rivera, the man who once mocked hell, now spends his days lighting candles for the living, reminding us all that even in our darkest moments, mercy waits, and that sometimes the hand reaching out to save us is draped in blue. If your faith is strong, subscribe, like, and comment what you're thankful for in life.